allow me to recount a hair-raising supernatural event I personally experienced. I can't recall the exact year or day, but it happened one early morning when I was in the 4th or 5th grade of elementary school. At that time, my family was not well off, so I had to wake up before dawn to embark on the long journey to school. The path I took was winding and twisted, sometimes passing by someone's front door, other times you couldn't see a single house for minutes on end. Unknown to my parents, I was extremely timid from a young age, as I never mentioned it to them. They naturally thought I wasn't scared. Despite their hard work to provide a better life for me, I had to walk to and from school by myself since 1st or 2nd grade, as there were no other children my age nearby. The closest kids were a neighbor's son, 3 years younger than me, and a daughter, 1 year older, but 2 grades above me. Among my classmates, my home was the farthest down this secluded path, often meaning I had to walk alone, something I was very afraid of. As a child, I was afraid of encountering snakes on the path during summer, and I dreaded the fork in the road that led to school. One path was a long, open road with no houses in sight, the other a shortcut winding past each household's front door. I often hesitated, not because I was embarrassed to walk past people's homes, but because the shortcut meant potentially dealing with dogs. If lucky, the dogs were tethered, and you could pass by safely. If not, you might round a corner to find a dog lying in your path, its leash sprawled across the ground. In such cases, I had no choice but to run, hoping to escape before it noticed me. The gamble of the shortcut was dozens of dogs, and unfortunately, I experienced being chased and even bitten. Now, as an adult, I fear the silence of winter nights and the sound of the wind howling through the forest, sometimes sounding like angry shouts, other times like sorrowful weeping. Walking along that seemingly endless path alone, with no streetlights and no visible houses, knowing my parents were waiting for me at home, I would hum songs to myself to be less afraid. Despite my caution, the most terrifying experience occurred right in front of my own home. Sorry, I've digressed a bit. I have many stories and thoughts I want to share, especially about my childhood. But let's focus on this particular experience. It was a summer morning, and I had to leave for school before dawn. Half asleep, I stepped out the door and down the stone steps when suddenly, a bold idea crossed my mind, walking with my eyes closed. However, only a few steps in, something felt terribly wrong. I felt one foot solidly hit the ground, and the next step was into emptiness. Panicked, I quickly opened my eyes and steadied myself, just in time to prevent falling into the river. How could I unknowingly walk towards the riverbank, which even with eyes open, would require dozens of steps from my front door? This made my skin crawl. I didn't dare think further and ran all the way to school. It's only in the face of the unknown that one feels truly unsettled, and that morning I was filled with unease and fear. That night after school, I remained troubled by the incident, walking back and forth from my house to the riverbank with my eyes open, confirming it was impossible to have reached it with my eyes closed in just a few steps. But why I arrived there with my eyes closed after only a few steps, I couldn't explain and didn't dare to investigate further. By midnight, I started running a high fever, and no amount of medicine or injections from the clinic could help. I burned with fever for 3 days until my parents took me to see a local healer overnight. Miraculously, I recovered the next day, though I never understood how she cured me. My mother mentioned something about burning paper and drinking ash-infused water as part of the treatment, believing my fever was caused by fright. Years later, I've only shared this story with 2 people. One of them is my partner, a strong and understanding woman. Despite my efforts to show and explain everything that happened that day, I could sense that while she was captivated by my story, deep down, she still harbored doubts. This isn't surprising, as truly understanding someone's fears and experiences requires empathy beyond words. I don't know if you'll believe all this, but believe me, everyone harbors some unknown stories in their heart, just as I'm sharing this one with you now.